Gap Incorporated is a clothing retail company that relies on the sale of their fashion products, and without the modern manufacturing technology derived from the Industrial Revolution, they would never be able to produce their goods and keep up with the demand. The Industrial Revolution caused a significant amount of change in the textile industry and caused an unimaginable boost in the production rate of textile products like never before in history. This period of major industrialization and advancements in technology in the late 17th century to the early 18th century took place in Britain. Industries ranging from widespread to domestic have all either improved or changed completely, like how textile productions have moved from homes to factories. Textile products were produced in homes before the Industrial Revolution were clothes made of cotton and silk. However, only the rich nobles during that time could afford silk clothing since it was traded all the way from China. Unfortunately, cotton clothing was also hard to afford due to the manpower and time it took to produce cotton into threads and/or clothing. Threads were produced by a loom which would be operated by a skilled worker. A merchant would visit villages, hand raw cotton to skilled workers, and then come back periodically to collect the cloth woven and compensate them for their work. The merchants would get cheap labor and the worker would be able to work from home with their loom and support their family. This changed in 1733 when John Kay invented the flying shuttle, which allowed unskilled workers to produce double the amount of what an experienced worker would be able to produce using the old hand loom. This was done by its efficiency that required reduced labor. In 1764, the spinning jenny was invented by James Hargreaves, which could eightfold the amount of products a worker can produce. In 1771, the first factory with the water frame opened along a water stream. Powered by water, the water frame produced 100 times the amount produced by workers using the old spinning wheel. Later on in 1774, the spinning mule was invented by Samuel Crompton. The spinning mule was a hybrid of a spinning press and a weaving press, which allowed for an increase in output. This invention was so easy it could be operated by children because of their small size and lack of demand for money, along with them being easily controlled by the factory owner. In 1785, the power loom powered by steam was invented, replacing the flying shuttle. However, these inventions helped make cloth faster but not produce cotton faster, which was the main raw material for clothing. There were two types of raw cotton, both imported from different countries as Britain's cold climates were not suitable for cotton production. The long staple cotton, which is easy to separate the seeds from the fibers but only grew along the coastal areas, and the short staple cotton, the one that grows almost anywhere but was hard to separate the seeds. When workers had to harvest the cotton, they had to remove the cotton seeds from the cotton fibers by hand, which was challenging and time consuming. The average worker could separate seeds and produce a mere 1 pound of cotton per day. Fortunately, Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin to solve this problem in 1793. The cotton gin was a machine that used sharp teeth to remove the seeds from the fibers, powered by a hand turning a handle, and produced 50 times the average man can make per day, which is 50 pounds. This technological leap proved to be much more impactful compared to when the spinning jenny was invented. This latest invention at the time turned out to be one of the most effective in producing cloth if it was powered by an alternative form of energy other than manpower, which in theory should have reduced labor. Unfortunately, the benefits of this invention ironically led to more labor following the exponential increase in profits. Advancement after advancement of machinery eventually led to the textile factories and textile manufacturing machinery used today by Gap Incorporated to mass produce a wide variety of textile products in a fast and cheap method. Gap Incorporated is a company that owns Gap, Old Navy, Banana Republic, and Athleta. Gap Incorporated and these companies are all clothing retail companies and they rely on the modern textile factories to produce their clothing goods for customers of all age and gender, except Athleta, that is only for women. Gap Incorporated was founded in 1969 by Donald Fisher and Doris Fisher in San Francisco. At that time, Gap only sold one textile item, Levi's jeans. As stated by Encyclopedia, 5 years after the first store opened, sales increased $97 million and their 186 stores had spread to 22 different states. Gap Incorporated now has 3,300 stores in 90 countries worldwide and more than 150,000 Gap Incorporated employees. On the other hand, Gap Incorporated pushes to actively reduce greenhouse gas emissions across its supply chain and stores with their goal to cut greenhouse gas emissions of their owned and operated facilities by half at the end of 2020. Gap Incorporated joined the Science Based Target Initiative, which is a partnership between CDP, the World Resource Initiative, the World Wildlife Fund, and the UN Global Compact. The SBT initiative brings more than 300 companies together from across a range of global industries, including 22 from the apparel sector, which collectively contributes an estimated 10% of global climate emissions. Gap is also promoting female garment workers to management positions through its PACE program and partnering with governments and other international organizations to improve factory work environments and safety in 7 countries, including Cambodia and Indonesia. However, the downside is that Gap Incorporated is supplied by some factories that violate human rights and promote gender inequality. For example, according to the Institute for Global Labor and Human Rights, Gap Incorporated is a major buyer from the Rana Plaza factory in Bangladesh that has a forced 15 to 17-hour workday for 7 days a week. This same factory established an off-the-books payment scheme to underpay workers for their overtime hours, shortchanging 3,750 workers by over $400,000 a year. Also, women's maternity benefits were routinely denied. These shocking facts were only revealed after the Rana Plaza fire, which killed over 1,100 workers. It is hard to believe that after decades of doing business in Bangladesh and claiming to monitor its suppliers closely, the Gap was unaware of its suppliers' practices and the horrifying conditions imposed upon the people suing their clothing lines. Iconic events in history which has changed the course of human history. It has defined the meaning of a modern society and has finally gave answer to the world's many problems which range from medicines to technology. Gap Incorporated might have never existed if this revolution did not take place. Gap is and will remain as one of the only companies which is the shining example in problems and solutions.